evolution of the rum shop. Of course, the village shop is an entrepreneurial activity. It is an employer. It is a significant economic activity. And I have to say, until recently, I didn't even know that rum shops had an association. It made me think that almost everybody got an association now, but I only then found out that rum shops do have one. And Mr. Franklin Parish is the president and founder of that association. I have no bio for you, Mr. Parish, but I'm sure you can, if you like, present yourself to the crowd. So I ask you though to welcome Mr. Franklin Parish, the president of the Bayville Association. Sorry, got it. Just make sure it's working before you think, but I don't know if we stop it or something. Right, he's from the Bayville Association of Rum Shops. So as you're ready, Mr. Parish.
Right. I don't know if there's much to introduce myself a bit, but the association has been created to help the rum shops develop. You have a lot of trouble with that, right? One of the things that we were created to do was to help the rum shops survive. What we noticed over the years is a lot of shops were opening and closing, and this was happening at a very alarming rate. When we did research, we found out that a lot of it had to do with the shops being able to be sustainable. And that stemmed from a lot of different areas. One was that a lot of them still were stuck in the old ways of running business and were not coming forward with the times. The other thing was that profitability was a big challenge for them. If you take a look at the beers, for instance, the beers now sell at 4 for 10. And the profit margin for the beers now is $18 per case. If you look at $18 per case and then you factor in buying ice and cups to serve the beers with, you realize that a pack of cups is $8 and a bag of ice is $13, which means that they are actually generating no profit from selling the beers at 4 for 10. And you take that into consideration a lot of other elements in which they operate with, it makes it difficult for them to be profitable. So that is one of the reasons to why they are not being able to be sustainable. And the other thing is, nobody is there to help them. The shops are the only entity that doesn't have a criteria for many agencies to assess, and there's nothing in place for them to be able to benefit from. So, with all those things in place, you find that they open and their lifespan is roughly anywhere from 3 months to probably 3 years. And it's sad because a lot of people who try to open them to make money realize that within 3 months where they have been in operation, they can't pay the bills. And they find that they try to use wholesalers to do consignment. That consignment factor is another big problem for them. You find that if you take a case of beer on consignment, you pay $45 or $43 opposed to $38 if you buy it cash. And if you sell the beers back at 4 for 10, you're in a deeper hole. The only way they actually generate revenue when they do these events is by trying to sell lots of food. And that in itself is another challenge, because if you prepare a lot of food and a lot of people don't come, it's a big loss. And you find that even to do those events, they have to spend money before they even start. So temporary liquor license or loud noise permit, for some they have to pay. So you're looking at probably $150 before they even start. Then they have to rent a tent. Tents are probably $150 to $200. And then there's the DJ, which is another $250 or more. Some people do posters, so they have to pay graphic artists, which is $50 or so. So picture, you do all that, and rainfall. Burn. You got to start all over again for next week. The other challenge too is when you look at the large establishments, they pay their liquor license runs them for an entire year, and that entails music up until whenever they're open or closed, and they can have events at will. Whereas the smaller shops, which pay $350 to $500, each time they want to have an event, they have to look at loud noise permit and temporary liquor license. And that stems from the fact that the liquor license has not been amended since 18 something. So you are only permitted to sell alcohol within the rum shop from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. on weekdays, and from 8 a.m. on weekends till 10 p.m. on weekends. So that's hence the reason why there is the temporary liquor license. So one of the things that we've been trying to get done is have that amended, so that the shops don't have to worry about that factor. Now, one of the things that we have been doing is trying to educate the shop owners. What we have ventured upon last year would have been the art of bartending training seminars, where we're teaching bartenders now to learn how to mix drinks. And we started with that first to introduce that into the rum shops. Although we want them to retain the same serve bottle and drink by chaser, we still want some of them to be able to step up and offer a different service. Also knowing that a bottle of rum serves at least 25 to 27 shots. So the profit margin on doing cocktails means that they will make more money instead of selling by the bottle. What we also added after that was customer service training and health and safety, which are very important factors, as we know rum shops are now becoming very popular for tourists as a way of experiencing our local culture firsthand, getting to interact with all local people. So you don't want to get them sick. You want the staff to practice the best health practices, and you want them to be able to interact with customers properly so that people want to come back and have a good experience. So we added those 3 elements to it. This year we added business development, which would encourage them to learn how to manage the money properly. 2 years ago we did some events which we were trying to help them generate revenue, shops generate revenue. And we found that even with the promotion and the added events, the shops are still back up in the same position. The reason for that is that whatever money made that day, they used to do something else the next day and not re-inject it back into the business. So they weren't managing their own money properly. We also did, a couple years ago, we did a pilot project with one of the shops where we worked with them exclusively to help them put in place checks and balances. What we found was that even though we did that and we left the shop alone, the shop went back to its own original state, because a lot of people don't change their ways. So there are different things why they tend not to survive. But the reason why we really want them to survive is that today the only place you can really find traditional food is in the rum shops. Hotels, most restaurants don't carry our traditional dishes at all. The only place we get cut is where? So, if they disappear, what will happen? You know, so. Not only cutters, you know, liver, gizzards. A lot of foods that we use would have, you know, partaken with years ago, you don't find they are disappearing now. And also, one of the factors that we look at is the community network based in the shops. Rum shops where you met everybody from your village. Today, you know people by the car license plate number because you don't interact. You see the car driving on the gap, you say, oh, that person lives next door here. Sometimes you don't even wave, you don't even know the person, don't even ever interact with that person. And that's because there's no meeting place. People don't meet in shops like years ago. It used to be a lot of education within the rum shop. You want to hear people from politics to sports. You learn some of everything within the rum shop. So as they disappear, where do you get that education? Where do you get to connect with the people in the community? Years ago, when you wanted to get something for your children to eat, when you had no income, you could have gone to the rum shop to ask the owner, give you the chicken or rice till the weekend. You can't do that in the supermarket today because you don't know who runs the supermarket or who owns it. So as those small institutions disappear, you find that there's a lot more stress is being placed on the small community. So our next step is another project we're working on with the BIDC, which is called Rum Shop Rescue, where we take several shops and do a competition with them to encourage them to try to get all their business practices correct. And the shop that actually wins, we will then put all the things in place for them in terms of marketing, packaging, business practices, all those things will go in place for that particular shop. Try to encourage them to be able to become more sustainable. As good as that is, there's still so many shops across the island. And the shops all have their own individual concepts and ideas of how they should run. And they find that shops still don't come together to work as a network. Although they are the largest purchasing businesses on the island, they are by far the largest purchasers of local product in cash. As you know, the shops don't get credit. The shop have to purchase in cash every day. And unlike the larger institutions like the hotels, supermarkets, or purchasers who get 90 days and 60 days credit and then still pay by check, the shops have to pay in cash each and every time they purchase. So they are the largest cash spenders on the island, collectively. And they should have a voice if they work together. Until they do realize how powerful they are in terms of spending power, it's only then they can work and achieve what they have to survive. If you take a look at the branding issue, half the shops across the island are branded. When you see them, you don't no longer see a shop called Miss Griffith Shaw or Miss Peter Shop. You don't know who the shop belongs to. All you see is a bank shop. You won't get a shop. So you go in the shop in the corner, that's a bank shop. So the shop's losing their identity. Nobody knows who it belongs to. Even when you search across the internet, what you see is branded shops. You don't see shops by name. Very few shops you know by name. Very few. Kermit, Saul, John Moore. Very few are known by their name today because of the branding issue. And the branding issue doesn't really help the shop that much because they're offered discounts in purchases that they still can't purchase. Because you have to purchase over 60 or 80 cases of beer to get the discount, and then most of the shops can't even buy that large amount of beer. So, how does it benefit them? But the brands get away with everyday marketing for 4 or 5 years and do nothing for the shops. So, for me, the shops have a very large voice if they actually come together. But it's for them now to realize how big their voice can be and how powerful that voice can actually be to have them. What else? One of the things that wasn't mentioned by my colleague here was that the shops were at one point called tippling houses. Obviously probably the same thing. We're drinking. I think they did. And you find that even today you find that they are separated. You find shops that are separated via drinking and serving of dry goods. And that was one of the major factors where the shops were known for in years gone by, where you'd be able to get your cheese and flour by the pound. Today you find that much at all because more people have gone to the fact of trying to be entertaining. So they have pool, room, dance area. So the shops have actually migrated now from a lot of traditions to a more modern day way of generating revenue. So they have gone to the fact that karaoke generates a crowd, so they are more geared towards that. Hold effect, dance brings crowds, and later today the security community, which brings a very large crowd. So you find that shops would have changed the way that they appear, and they would have moved now into houses or larger buildings to help accommodate that kind of facility. As the shops change, obviously they lose a lot of what the traditional shop would be, and a lot of that heritage or culture element will disappear. So one of the things that we are working to do now with the National Trust is to try to save the shops that are actually been around for a very long time, from that time, to become part of our registered buildings as well. So it become part of our valued history.
That's okay. We can also probably get more stimulus from the questions that will come.
Okay, that's fine.
So that's okay, so we good. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Parish. That was a very informative presentation for sure. And it segues quite nicely into what our next panelist is going to present to us. She is Ms. Sharon Trotman. We were to have the presence of the CEO of the BTPA, the Barbados Tourism Product Association, Authority, Dr. Kerry Hall, but she's ill. So in her place, we have Ms. Sharon Trotman, who is a product officer from